One of the things that young people often ask me as a psychologist is how to take care of their emotional well-being. So, I've put together a 5-point plan of some of the practical stuff you can do that can make a real difference. You might like to try all of them or just select the ones that you think could work for you. Number 1 is to eat well. Changes in mood and energy are linked to changes in blood sugar levels. Eating regularly maintains blood sugar levels. Not eating regularly can make you tired, irritable, anxious, and cause poor concentration. Good tips include eating breakfast, eating every 3 to 4 hours, avoiding junk food, eating plenty of fruits and vegetables, and drinking lots of water. Number 2 is to try and include some kind of physical activity. Exercising helps release endorphins, which can improve your mood. When you're not feeling great, you might stop doing the things that can improve your mood, almost without realizing it. Making sure you do some physical exercise, even if you don't feel like it at first, can improve your mood very quickly. Number 3 is to do what I call self-expression. It means doing the things that make you who you are. Doing what makes you happy is a sign of emotional well-being. It will help you to stay connected to yourself. Number 4 is to distract yourself with other activities if you find that your levels of anxiety are rising. When you're feeling anxious about something, let yourself switch off from the problem and go and do something completely different. It may seem more manageable when you go back to it at a different time. Distracting yourself is not a way of ignoring the situation, but can be a reliable way to stop overthinking a problem when you're feeling stuck. And number 5 is to keep remembering your good qualities. We all have them. And remember that no one is perfect either. It can be easy to think that others are more talented, more successful, have more opportunities than you when you're feeling low. So, until next week, when I'll be talking about the psychology of joining online communities, have a good week and stay well.
And while we're on the subject of creativity, I wanted to share with you how important a workspace can be in helping those innovative ideas to flow. Some offices can be ugly and uninspiring places to spend your working day, whereas others can keep you happy and enable you to be more energetic and creative. Some of the best workspaces that I've seen for myself feature gym equipment that can help reduce stress and get the blood flowing, which is always important if you sit behind a desk all day, and lounges where workers can chill out and feel at home. At some, the cool office design helps employees think more creatively or playfully. I've been having a look at some of the most creative workspaces around the world, and some of them are truly amazing. Check some of these out online to see what I mean. The office of the advertising agency Ogilvy & Mather, based in Jakarta, Indonesia, has a staircase which doubles as a workspace with big cushions on different levels for people to sit and exchange ideas. And if you don't like taking the stairs, there's also a long slide that you can whiz down to get from one floor to another. Another advertising agency in Tokyo has an indoor lawn for workers to sit or lie on, and the walls are covered in fake grass. Facebook's offices in Tel Aviv in Israel have blackboard walls so that workers can write up their ideas for everyone to see. The idea here is that this gets people talking more and swapping creative ideas. Quicken Loans, based here in Detroit, gives workers plenty of time-out space where they can relax, socialize, and have fun. So, there's a games table that's built into an old Ford Mustang car, a basketball court, and in-office scooters for people to move around the building, which does sound slightly dangerous to me, but then I don't even have a driver's license. In a similar playful vein, the Google offices in New York have a full-size climbing wall for when employees need to take time out to boost their imaginations. The Spotify office has workspace rooms divided by strings rather than walls, so that employees can signal that they're busy working but aren't impossible to reach if something comes up. So, do you know of any amazing workspaces? Perhaps you work somewhere that's really cool. Drop me a line or leave a comment. Or if you work in such a place, feel free to share images of your workspace in the comments. Until next time, design fans.
Creativity is the key in my business. Basically, it's what I do. But being in a very creative industry makes it very competitive, and it's incredibly difficult in the beginning to get your foot in the door. I only managed it because some of my college designs ended up being used in a magazine shoot because the photographer was a friend of mine. A creative director saw it and loved it and got in touch to ask if I'd like to develop my designs into a wider range. I was very lucky. I found it hard at times to maintain the creativity. Sometimes you just run out of ideas, and then the danger is that you start copying everyone else. But it's very satisfying when you get to see people actually wearing your creations. I'll never get tired of that.
I came into the profession the old-fashioned way, if you like. I went to stage school as a kid and played the odd part here and there. But I realized after a while that I found it a little bit too stressful and wanted to work behind the scenes rather than on center stage. So when the opening came up, I applied. Our first one was in the spring of 2010, and to be honest, I haven't looked back. It's a very demanding job, but the creative process makes all that worth it. Taking a bunch of people with a huge range of talents and building something together that has to keep people entertained for 90 minutes is fantastic. When it works well, it's really magical.
It's really about having an eye for something. It's almost like having an extra sense, something that I can tune into when I'm at work, and when I'm not at work too. That's why I tend to carry my equipment with me most places. You never know what you might end up seeing. I started out doing weddings when I graduated college, but I found there weren't enough creative challenges, so I moved into fashion. It's much more interesting, and although it means a lot of traveling, I love it. No 2 days are the same.
I studied fine art at college, and although I'd always imagined that I'd go on to become an animator, a chance meeting with someone at an art exhibition meant that I changed direction completely. We'd been discussing a building project, and I realized then that I wanted to move into design. So it was back to college for me and another 3 more years of study. I got a job with a small firm in New York, and we developed our profile over the years. I've handed over a lot of the design processes to my team now, but I'm still very involved in the ideas and creative input. I'm still very excited when I see one of our designs turned into reality. A recent housing development of ours won an industry award. I was very proud.
It's all about creating the brand in my job. I work on developing the visual aspects of a product. So it's important for me to discuss with clients what kind of image they want to convey to their audience and the ways in which they want to achieve this. I enjoy working on logos and collaborating with creative directors and designers in the process. Design styles for logos go in and out of fashion like anything else, so our aim is to try and create ones that will stick around for some time. At the moment, I'm working on a new project. Looking at the layout, design, and style of a new cooking magazine. It's different from what I've done before and really interesting.
I was reading this article the other day about this guy who was looking for an extreme sport to take up. And his wife told him to find something that they could do together, something which was slightly dangerous but fun, but wouldn't cost them too much money. So they didn't need to go out and buy tons of expensive equipment.
Right? And what happened?
Well, the next thing she knew, he'd arranged for both of them to try something out. So she finds herself hanging onto a highway bridge with a thick rope around her waist, looking down over the water below and preparing to leap off. She said it was amazing, and now they go all over the place doing it. She says it's terrifying, but the feeling as you're falling is incredible.
Huh? Better her than me.
What are you watching?
It's a program about extreme sports. Look, that guy's the world champion. You can see why. Look at the tricks he's doing.
Wow, How does he do that? That boat's going so fast.
I know. He's not even wearing anything on his feet. I don't understand how he can do that without losing his balance.
Me neither. I'd love to try it, though.
Me too.
Did I tell you that Katrina and her family have gone to Canada?
No. Whereabouts?
They've gone to Banff. Her dad's really into extreme winter sports. He takes part in competitions.
Does he?
Yes, but he had to stop for a while last year. He had an accident after he came off a jump. He landed badly on an icy patch and broke his leg. He's okay now, though.
Right. Sounds far too dangerous. I'm glad my dad's only into golf.
It says here that they've got a free deal at the local place downtown. If you pay for 5 adults, then the 6th person goes for free. Do you want to try it?
What? Do that with you and 4 friends? No thanks. I'd be covered in bruises or green dye from head to toe if I went with you guys.
No, you'd be fine. I'd make them promise not to try and hit you all the time. Apparently, it doesn't hurt and you wear protective clothing and a helmet. And you're not allowed to aim the gun at anyone's head.
No, you go ahead. I really don't think it's my thing at all.
I saw a TV documentary about this French woman who's one of the world's top mountaineers. And do you know what she does? She goes up mountainsides using her bare hands.
Yes, I think I've seen videos of her on YouTube. Is she the woman who goes all over the world looking for steep cliffs and rocks and then makes it to the top without any equipment? No ropes, no safety harness, nothing.
That's her. I almost couldn't watch. It made my hands go all sweaty.
This week in our series on risks and safety, we're looking at the crucial role of risk assessment in the workplace. With me in the studio, I have Chris Nunn, Chief Executive of Health and Safety Monitoring, whose job is to offer advice to employers on how to follow the key steps when carrying out a workplace risk assessment. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
Could you first outline for listeners at home what risk assessment in the workplace actually involves?
Absolutely. A workplace risk assessment is carried out by a person with experience in evaluating risks. Their job is to check that employers of all kinds, whether that's in the hospitality industry, for example, or the aviation industry or whatever, are keeping their workers safe. So they will first identify what health and safety risks employees are exposed to. These can be physical, mental, or chemical hazards that could do someone different levels of harm.
So, what would be an example of, say, physical harm?
Well, physical harm might come from heavy lifting, or from slips and trips on flooring that is not level, from noise or dust or machinery. All kinds of things can cause a potential hazard.
You mentioned mental hazards, too. What would those include?
Well, employees can develop a range of problems with their mental health from, for example, having a very heavy workload, or having to work very long hours, working with very demanding clients, or having difficult working relationships with colleagues.
And what would a typical working day be like for a workplace risk assessor?
Well, that would very much depend on what type of workplace they were assessing. They might have to risk assess in a factory, or they might be assessing in a kindergarten, and they would be looking for very different risks in each of those environments. Let's say they were assessing a supermarket, for example. The hazards they'd be looking for would be found in the repetitive tasks that employees have to do at the checkout, and in the danger from spills and obstacles in the shop and storerooms. It's important to point out here, I think, that no environment is ever totally risk-free, but it's about assessing how likely the risk is to happen.
Right. So what would happen next? I mean, once they've spotted a hazard, would they have to deal with it there and then?
No, usually not. They'd have to decide how likely the hazard was to actually cause harm or injury to someone. So, the assessor must decide whether the risk is high, medium, or low. They record the risk and say what action needs to be taken to reduce or eliminate the risk completely.
Well, thank you, Chris. If any listeners have questions on risk assessment, or if you're an employee looking for advice, you can get in touch in the usual way. Just go to our...
I'm going to talk this morning through a couple of theories that are connected to the psychology of colors. Not a phrase you hear every day, I admit, but it's a very interesting area of study for psychologists, largely because colors are such an important part of our lives, but we often don't notice the impact they have. The first theory is based on the idea that certain colors can improve learning. Could the color of the paper used in a test or assignment have an impact on academic performance? Some evidence suggests that printing text on green paper helps students read better, and that yellow paper helps students perform better on math exams. Dr. Robert Gerard recognized this and pioneered research in the late 1950s, which suggested that every color has a specific wavelength, and each of these affect our body and brain in a different way. When learning, feelings, attention, and behavior can be seriously affected by the choice of color, the correct selection, and placement. You probably know this already just by taking a look at a forest or a field. Low wavelength colors such as green, blue, and violet promote restfulness, and they improve efficiency. The color green, for example, helps improve concentration. Apart from being one of the easiest colors on the eyes, it reminds us of nature. People who work in green offices also have higher rates of job satisfaction, according to studies. Consumers also tend to spend more time shopping in stores that are painted green. A second theory, also connected to the idea that colors can impact learning, is a phenomenon called the Stroop effect, which was named after J. Ridley Stroop in the 1930s. He observed that it's easier to say the color of a word if it matches the semantic meaning of the word. For example, if someone asked you to say the color of the word red that was also printed in red ink, it would be easier to say the correct color, easier than if it had been written in blue or green ink. The argument is that the words themselves have a strong influence over your ability to say the color. The different information that your brain receives is what causes the confusion. There are two theories that may explain the Stroop effect. Firstly, that we read the words faster than we can name the colors, and secondly, that naming colors demands more from our brains than reading words. So what I would like you to do as part of your assignment is to think of simple experiments that you could carry out to test both these hypotheses. Why not design an experiment to see whether using a specific color of paper helps improve students' scores on math exams? Think about the different ways you could try this out, but remember that you would need to do it in such a way that...
Did you find anything suitable?
Yes, thanks. They were hidden away at the back of the wardrobe. I haven't worn them for so long, I didn't know that they'd fit, but they do, so that's a good thing.
Great. Yes, you just need something you feel comfortable in, really. Nothing too tight so you can move easily.
And is there anything else I should bring with me?
Perhaps your water bottle? Oh, and try not to eat too much beforehand. Much better to do it on an empty stomach. So, I'll see you Thursday at 3.
Great. See you then. Bye.
Could you give me some idea of when it started?
It was about 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, just after I got home from school.
And have you had this happen to you before?
No, nothing like this at all. I did go to my yoga class last night, but I started feeling awful. But it was much worse when I woke up this morning. I took a couple of tablets and took the day off work. The principal was surprised because I'd been fine at school the day before. But I've been under a lot of pressure lately with deadlines.
Okay, well, let's have a look. We'll run some tests first.
Could I have a word with you, Jamie, please?
Sure. What is it?
Well, I noticed that you've been in late twice this week, and I'm wondering why.
Yes, I'm sorry about that. We just got a new dog and he's been sick this week, so I had to take him to the vet before my shift.
Okay, well, just let me know if you can, okay?
Yes, I will.
And can I just ask that you make sure your uniform is clean and neat, please? It's important our customers see well-dressed staff in the store. Thanks.
Sorry to bother you with this, but I'm a little bit concerned about Charlie.
What seems to be the trouble?
Well, he's not eating properly and he's sleeping all the time.
How old is he now?
He'll be 10 in January.
Did you take him out for a walk this morning?
No, he didn't want to get out of bed.
Well, we'll ask you to bring him in. Is 3 o'clock today okay with you?
Yes, thanks. I'll see you then.
Are you okay? Is there anything I can help you with? You look a little pale.
I'm okay. I'm just feeling a little sick. Do you have a chair? I need to sit down.
Sure. Why not come into my office? It's a bit cooler in there.
I only left my desk to pick up a bite to eat in here for my lunch. I'm sure it'll pass. It is very hot out there today.
It is. Let me get you a glass of water and maybe that will help.
Thank you.
This week, as part of our Community Challenge series, we're looking at ways that young people are being inspired by community projects. With me in the studio is Amy Harris, who is the creative director of the Circuit Youth Circus, which aims to get teenagers involved in circus performances and training. So, Amy, everyone talks about people running away to join the circus, but how did you get into it?
Well, I started training in circus arts when I was about 10 years old because my parents set up a youth circus in my hometown in Canada. Circus was very important to me as a child, but I never imagined that it would become my profession. I went on to major in social work in college in the U.S., and then in 2007 I moved back to Toronto and, well, that's when I fell in love with circuses all over again.
And what is it that you love most about the job?
Well, it's my dream job, really. I get to combine my passion for circus performance with my love of youth arts projects. For me, a youth circus is one of the most exciting ways to engage young people in activities. It also helps them build their self-confidence, and they learn to cooperate with others and develop their creativity.
And what kind of things do young people actually do in the circus? Do they perform?
Yes, of course. They learn a whole range of new and exciting circus skills. Juggling, mime, clowning. That's one of the most popular activities. They can also get some experience in acrobatics if they want to. And we put on a new circus performance every few months.
What are the most challenging parts of your job?
Well, I have to admit that it's dealing with the financial side of things. For example, we'd love to be able to put on more shows, but the expense and the logistics of that make it almost impossible with our budget. It's also challenging knowing how urgent the need is for what we do, but knowing that the circus industry itself is going through great changes.
What skills and personality traits do you think are essential in a job like yours?
Determination to communicate with teens in a way that they understand is the key trait, I think, and I have a huge amount of that. Plus, a passion for creativity. Over the years, I've also become pretty good at adapting, thinking on my feet, and creative problem solving. I'm hoping that this continues into the future as we grow.
When I was in high school, I took up tennis, and although I really enjoyed it, I never really took part in championships. I was pretty good, but I never thought I was good enough, if you know what I mean. I think that made me feel a bit disheartened, to be honest, and by the time I was in 10th grade, I'd pretty much given up playing altogether, except the occasional game with friends if we had nothing better to do. Then something happened that changed my life forever. I was at a friend's house and we were watching YouTube videos, and we came across this one of some guys playing squash. I'd never really seen the game played before, and it was so fast and so exciting that I really wanted to try it. The next day, I found where the nearest squash courts were, hopped on the bus, and went and checked the game out for myself. For some reason, I was fascinated by the fact that squash was about being in a room playing the balls off the wall. It was almost like being inside the game. It's a totally absorbing experience. When I'm playing, I don't think about anything else. After I'd had a couple of practice sessions, my parents agreed to pay for a private coach. I think even at that early stage, they could see that I was determined. Over the coming months, I worked on developing my hitting techniques. After 6 months, I started entering competitions. Initially, I lacked the experience, and so it was rare for me to win a game. But over time, my confidence grew, and by the time I was 19, I was winning competitions at a national level. I got a new coach and started on a tough fitness training program to build up my stamina and to increase my speed and mobility. It seemed to work, and by 2010, I was selected for the national squad. We knew that squash wouldn't be included in the 2012 Olympic Games in London, although I know a lot of people thought it should have been, but we still held out some hope that we might be able to compete in 2016 in Brazil. Unfortunately, that didn't happen either. I was devastated, especially since the International Olympic Committee decided to add golf and rugby to the long list of Olympic sports. I still kept on playing, but without the Olympic goal, my sense of determination seemed to fade. It's really too bad, because it's an incredible sport to play and equally incredible to watch.
Hi, and welcome to my podcast. Today, I'd like to talk about something that connects to my Chinese heritage, and that's fortune cookies. They're one of the things that I look forward to after a meal in a Chinese restaurant. But did you know that this global treat is unlikely to have actually come from China? Chances are you won't find them in restaurants in China either. Around 3 billion fortune cookies are made each year, almost all of them in the United States. They've become so popular and have spread around the world. But there are conflicting ideas among food historians about where exactly fortune cookies come from. So I thought I'd let you in on what I've discovered so far about their origins, and you can decide for yourself which one you think is most likely. The first theory is that a Chinese immigrant named David Zheng, who started the Hong Kong Noodle Company in Los Angeles, invented the cookie in 1918. He saw lots of poor people wandering the streets near his shop and created the cookie in an effort to help them. He then passed them out for free to people he thought were in need. Each cookie contained a strip of paper with a Bible quote on it, written for Zheng by a church minister. The second idea is that a Japanese immigrant called Makoto Hagiwara invented the fortune cookie, again in the U.S., this time in San Francisco. Hagiwara, who was one of the designers of the famous Japanese tea garden in Golden Gate Park, was fired from his job as a gardener. In 1914, to show his appreciation of the friends who had stood by him during his time of unemployment, Hagiwara made a cookie and placed a thank you note inside. After giving them to those who had helped him, he began serving them regularly at the Japanese tea garden. In 1915, they were displayed at San Francisco's World Fair. One of the newest ideas about the origin of the fortune cookie is that it comes from Japan. A woodblock image from 1878 has been found, which shows what seems to be a Japanese stallholder making fortune cookies. They can still be found in certain districts of Kyoto, where small family bakeries have been making fortune cookie-shaped crackers for many years. Instead of the sweet cookie flavor available in the States, though, these are darker in color and are made with miso paste or sesame. They're more of a savory than a sweet thing. And the fortune is actually on the outside of the cracker, unlike traditional fortune cookies. I'm not sure which story I prefer, but they all sound pretty likely to me. But did you know that fortune cookies are straightforward to make yourself? What I suggest you do is grab a pen and a piece of paper, and then you can make a note of the ingredients, because in next week's podcast, I thought it might be fun to talk you through how to make them. So until then, bye!
Hi, Will. It's me, Jen.
Oh, hi, Jen. How are you doing?
Yeah, not so bad, thanks. How are things with you? I haven't seen you in ages.
Yeah, all good with me. I've been busy studying, really. Not much else to report apart from that. What are you up to?
Well, I called for some advice, really. My parents and I are looking to get a games console for my brother Tom's birthday, but I have no idea where to start. There are so many games out there. His cousin has one, and I know Tom really wants one as well. So I thought, I know, I'll ask Will because he's got every computer games console under the sun, right?
Huh. Well, not exactly, but I can see where you're coming from. Okay, I can give you advice, but I'll need to find out a little bit more about the kind of gaming your brother wants to do, and then I can suggest something he'd like.
Oh, wow, that sounds complicated.
Oh no, not at all. But different consoles are good for different kinds of games. Some are better for platform games, others are better for physical games like dancing and sports games. It depends on what sort of games he's into. So, I guess my first question is, what sort of console do you want? A handheld one or a home video one?
I was thinking a handheld one. They'd be cheaper, I guess, and I'd like something for him to be able to play when he comes home from school. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think you're right. If you're looking for something that would be just for him to play, then that would be the most suitable. How old is he?
He'll be 14 next week, and he's played lots of computer games in his time, but he's never had his own console before. But I know he likes playing stuff on his cell phone. Problem is, he doesn't have enough data, so there are lots of games he can't download on that, which is one of the reasons I want to get him one.
Well, the best one for his age group would probably be the Avivo Swap. You can use it as a handheld device, but you can also use it as a home video game too, hence the name. So, if the rest of the family wanted to play as well, that might be good. I think they're around $300.
Great. That might be a good option. I know my dad's not averse to playing computer games every now and then.
I've got one and it's great. There are lots of different games and accessories, enough to keep even the most discerning gamer happy.
That's great. Thanks so much for your help, Will. Let's get together for coffee soon, yeah?
Absolutely. Glad I could be of some help. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
So, how's the new job? Are you enjoying it? It must be quite different working for a homeless charity after you've been working in marketing for a while.
Yes, it's very different, but I'm really liking it so far. The people I work with are dedicated, and there's a really good feeling about the place. Plus, I get a real sense of achievement. I never imagined that I'd completely change careers, but there's something very rewarding about working to try and make people's lives a little better, rather than working to make money for a global company. I'm glad I made the career move when I did.
So, is the charity well supported?
Yes and no, I'd say. There are lots of fundraising events, and there is money coming in from public and private investment, but homelessness is such a big issue and requires a lot of resources that there's always room for improvement. One of the things I'm working on at the moment actually is improving our profile so that as many people hear about the work we're doing as possible, with the hope that this will increase revenue.
So, what kinds of things?
So we're working on a TV campaign which will hopefully be ready just before Thanksgiving, which is obviously an important time for us. People are generally more generous around then, and at Christmas, of course. We've also got a series of billboards going up around the city to raise awareness of homelessness and what people can do. And we're looking for volunteers to run the soup kitchens and...
Soup kitchens? What are those?
Well, we call them soup kitchens, but we actually don't usually serve soup. They're places where homeless people can go to get food and a cup of tea or coffee, come for advice, meet up, and socialize. The one we have is only open on weekdays because we don't have enough volunteers to keep it open on weekends. The hope is that if we can get more people helping out, we'll be able to stay open more, which will obviously be better.
That sounds good. Does the charity have any hostels where people can find a bed for the night?
That's another thing we're working on at the head office, actually. We're in the process of raising money to buy an old hotel building, and the plan is to renovate it and use it as a shelter. But it's going to be a while, I think. We need to raise $500,000.
Good luck, Archie. I'd like to make a contribution if that's okay. Look, here's $50. It's the least I can do. And I'll think of some things we can do at work to raise a bit of money. I know people would be eager to help.
That's great, Lizzie. Thanks so much. I'm really touched.
In last week's program on the psychology of the mind, we discussed synesthesia. This week, we're looking at a group of people called super recognizers who have an incredible ability to recognize human faces. In the studio, I have our regular features editor, Cherry Morgan. Cherry, nice to see you again. So what can you tell us about super recognizers? I don't think it's a term I've heard before.
Well, Matt, super recognizers are people who have an extraordinary ability to recognize and remember human faces. And we're not just talking about a couple of hundred faces here. Most super recognizers are able to memorize thousands of faces, even after only having seen them once for a very short period of time.
Wow, that's incredible. I'm assuming that this isn't a new thing?
No, it's not. Humans have been recalling faces for as long as they have been establishing relationships and engaging with one another. We know that the ability to remember people's faces is a crucial social skill. Some people are really good at it, and some aren't. But it's only in recent years that this ability has been acknowledged as a professional skill as well.
What do you mean by professional skill?
Well, recently police forces have been employing super recognizers to help them investigate crimes and track down criminals. In September 2018, 2 super recognizers employed by the Metropolitan Police Force in London identified Russian criminals who had used a chemical to poison people. They looked through hours of CCTV footage and identified the suspects, although by the time the police were able to act, the criminals had disappeared. And the same police force announced that they were no longer using facial recognition software to identify criminals at a London Carnival parade, but were instead using super recognizers because they made fewer mistakes.
So, do scientists understand how it works?
Not really. Some evidence suggests it may be genetic, with between 1% and 2% of the population having it, but there isn't much understanding of why it works. Research from the University of York suggests that on average, most people can recognize about 5,000 different faces, but some are only able to recall around 1,000. The researchers studied a group whose average age was 24, so there's no information as yet on whether age has something to do with it. The question is, do we collect images throughout our lifetimes and store them in our brains and then start to forget them as we get older? Safe to say, there's still an awful lot scientists don't know.